Today on Public Eye News, Michigan's Chief Justice tests positive for COVID-19 and Oklahoma governor signs bill to make abortion illegal.
Later, Brady Hinshaw will have your weather for the weekend, and Mitchell will be back with your sports update. Hello, I'm Susanna Gwynn.
And I'm Mitchell Reif, and this is Public Eye News. The Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court has just announced that she has tested positive for COVID-19. Chief Justice Bridget Mary McCormack said in a statement she was tested Saturday and received a negative test result on Tuesday before testing positive. McCormack noted she is both fully vaccinated and has received 2 booster shots as well. As of right now, no other justices on Michigan's Supreme Court have tested positive and are all following quarantine and isolation procedures. And a police officer shot and killed a 32-year-old man who opened fire on a wounded 2 officers in southwestern Michigan last Thursday. Dustin Saffel and Benton of Benton Harbor fired upon officers outside a residential home after the officers had been searching for Saffel on home invasion, resisting arrest, and other outstanding warrants. According to body camera footage from the officers, Saffel fired at least 15 rounds from his handgun before being subdued. As of now, the shooting is still under investigation by the Michigan State Police.
And continuing in Madison, Wisconsin, next week, the first public hearing will be scheduled for a Republican-authored bill to legalize medical marijuana in Wisconsin. This is a promising sign of progress for those who wish to loosen the Badger State's laws. The bill will not become law this year, though, because the legislature will not be back until 2023. But the Senate hearing scheduled for April 20th will give supporters the biggest chance to make the case for the new legislation. 18 states have already fully legalized marijuana, with 37 states having legalized medical marijuana. Democratic Senator Melissa Agard, a major advocate for the bill, has said that holding a hearing after the legislature has adjourned would give people false hope about the prospect of the legislation, though she is still hopeful. And continuing in Madison, new data shows an alarming increase in type 2 diabetes among children in Wisconsin, and doctors think COVID-19 could be a factor. Recent numbers from UW Health Kids shows a nearly 200% increase in the number of cases in recent years. Dr. Elizabeth Mann, a pediatric endocrinologist at UW Health, has said that the sharp increase is beyond what was expected. Mann adds that type 2 diabetes seems to be affecting children at younger ages and resulting in more severe complications than previously seen before the pandemic. In type 2 diabetes, the pancreas produces insulin, but the body has developed a resistance to it. And with Easter less than a week away, you may have noticed that the price of eggs has been skyrocketing. Costs are being driven up by several factors, including an outbreak of bird flu that has forced farmers to kill more than 20 million chickens. We'll get more on this from CBS's Omar Villafranca.
Sam Miller has more than 8,000 hungry mouths to feed every day at Cedar Ridge Egg Farm in Northeast Texas. The rising cost of the corn and wheat feed is forcing Miller to raise his egg prices. His feed bill for his growing business is up nearly $7,000 a month.
I don't jack my price up. I make a little bit. I don't make a lot off my egg.
The war in Ukraine, a major grain producer, and drought conditions in the U.S. have pushed wheat and corn prices up significantly. That has driven up the price of eggs by 56%. Last year, the national average for a dozen large white eggs was $1.60. Now it's up to $2.50.
Your morning breakfast price is going up all the way from the eggs, but to the bacon and the toast and everything else.
Livestock economist David Anderson says the worst avian flu outbreak in 7 years has killed more than 20 million birds in 24 states and has chipped away at the egg supply and pushed prices up.
It takes time to adjust to higher prices and higher costs. You don't just snap your fingers and get more production.
Higher fuel prices are also hammering Miller. The cost to fill up his delivery truck almost doubled, and he's doing everything he can to avoid raising his egg prices again.
There's going to come a point in time where I have to do something or I'm not going to be here.
Higher grain prices aren't just affecting eggs. The price per pound of bacon, ground beef, whole chickens, they are all up compared to last year, and experts say the price could get even higher. Omar Villafranca, CBS News, Arlington, Texas.
And don't go anywhere, because after this break, Brady will be back for your weather, and we will be back for your national news.
Coming up on Bands of Enchantment. Southern Avenue.
Any moment that me and my family are together, we're loud, we're singing, we're harmonizing, we're dancing, and so that's just, music has always been a part of our lives. I just can't get enough. Just can't get enough. I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough.
Saturday night at midnight on WNMU-TV.
And welcome back on this glorious day. I am your weatherman, Brady Hinshaw, and if we look back on our NMU campus, it looks like it's starting to get some rain showers. But let's take a look all over the UP, where in Houghton it is 51, in Ironwood it's 47, Iron Mountain's 53, Menominee 51, Escanaba 48, Manistee 47, and back in Sault Ste. Marie it is 53. Now let's take a look at our Marquette current conditions with mostly cloudy skies with a temperature of 45 degrees, winds out of the east at 5 miles an hour, and barometric pressure of 30.02 and falling. Looking towards tonight, we got some rain in the skies with a low of 38, winds out of the east at 16 miles an hour. Now, if we look towards tomorrow, we have more rain with a high of 42, low of 35, and winds out of the east, northeast at 11 miles an hour. Now, if we take a look at our week ahead, it doesn't improve that much, with Thursday a high of 39 and a low of 28 with some wind, Friday a high of 33 and a low of 25 and cloudy skies, and Saturday a high of 32 and a low of 27 with cloudy skies as well. Back to Mitchell Reif with the national news.
Thanks, Brady. In Alabama, it has just become the first state to criminalize the use of puberty blockers and hormones for people under the age of 19. The medications, which are used to treat transgender patients and ease the transition to the opposite sex, will now have to wait until adulthood in the state of Alabama. The GOP senators who back the bill claim it is to protect children by waiting until they are in adulthood and mature enough to make the gender-affirming decisions. Critics of the bill say it interferes with personal medical decisions which should be left up to the families and their doctors. And a bill signed into law today in Oklahoma has officially made it illegal to perform an abortion in the state. The bill also carries up to 10 years in prison for those who disobey it. It will take effect 90 days after legislature adjourns next month, and the only exception is if an abortion is necessary to save the life of a mother. It's to be noted that while the bill prosecutes the person performing an unauthorized abortion, there's no repercussion to the woman receiving an abortion. Pro-choice activists in the state are already preparing to take legal action against the bill. And Ukrainian officials are telling residents in the east to get out now ahead of expected major attacks by Russian forces. Allegations of war crimes committed by Russian President Vladimir Putin and his troops are intensifying. CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
CBS News spoke to Vera, an 83-year-old retired school teacher who says she was raped by a Russian soldier when her village was occupied. She said he grabbed her by the back of the neck, that she started to choke and couldn't breathe. She said her disabled husband was in the house at the time of the attack and that she was beaten. Vera says she wishes he had killed her instead of what he did. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby says the U.S. is helping to gather evidence of possible war crimes in Ukraine.
It's also fairly transparent for the world to see the brutality and the war crimes that Russian forces are conducting.
Ukraine warned those in the east to evacuate while they still can. Satellite images show an 8-mile convoy of Russian troops on their way to the Donbas region. They're now following the orders of a new general, Alexander Dvernikov, who is in charge in Syria, where Russia is accused of war crimes. In the southern port city of Mariupol, some cleanup of devastated buildings is underway as residents waited in line for water. The mayor here says over 10,000 civilians have been killed, but Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky believes the death toll is likely higher. President Biden held a virtual meeting with India's prime minister to discuss Ukraine. India is reliant on Russia for defense equipment and also imports the country's energy.
The United States and India are going to continue our close consultation
on how to manage the destabilizing effects of this Russian war.
UNICEF says almost 2/3 of Ukraine's estimated 7.5 million children have been displaced. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, the White House.
And don't go anywhere, because right after this short break, we'll be back with your sports news. Stay tuned.
On Cool the Midwife.
I can't carry on as a midwife once I've had the baby.
What does Cyril say?
It doesn't news so much as a plan.
A plan you already decided on.
What's this?
I took a tumble trying to get in a wheelchair.
Can I help you? I'd like to see the housing officer and the medical officer, please.
You say it's your mother who disciplines you. I think my life has just changed.
Sunday night at 8 on WNMU-TV.
In the sports world, the U.S. House Oversight Committee sent a letter out earlier today to the Federal Trade Commission saying it found some evidence that the NFL's Washington Commanders were involved with unlawful financial conduct. The letter was obtained through the Associated Press, and it contains information around these allegations. There were emails, documents, and statements made by former employees that indicate team executives and owner Dan Snyder for these activities. And the committee is sharing documents with the FTC while requesting the commission to take any action necessary to make sure all the capital is returned. And Congress launched an investigation into the team's workplace misconduct, and lawyers Lisa Banks and Deborah Katz, who represent more than 40 former employees, called the letter damning. And in the NASCAR world, driver Joey Logano has continued to grow a name for himself. In his young career, had his share of conflict with some of the biggest stars on the asphalt. He was 18 and overhyped, evidenced by a nickname that likened him to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. Logano, eager to prove himself and determined not to be pushed around, had beef with Kevin Harvick as well as Joe Gibbs' former teammates racing Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. Matt Kenseth was suspended 2 races for deliberately knocking Logano out of champion contention during their contentious flare-up. This series came up short for Joey Logano as he watched from afar as Ty Gibbs, the 19-year-old with the Gibbs organization, as he struggled to find his own footing with the 3 incidents in the past Xfinity Series races. And in Augusta, Georgia, Scotty Scheffler became a Masters champion. Scotty wanted to become a professional golfer for so long, even wearing trousers to lessons at Royal Oaks in Dallas, no matter how stifling the Texas heat. He just never imagined how he would look in that green jacket. And winning the Masters is the dream of any junior golfer, particularly in Texas, where its heritage of champions from Brian Nelson and Ben Hogan to most recently Jordan Spieth and Patrick Reed. He says he was shooting great all week and finished off strong. But that's all the sports updates I have for today. Susanna?
Exactly. Thank you so much, Mitch. Transitioning from sports now to art. Shifting to Waterbury, Connecticut, artwork found in an abandoned barn in 2017 has turned out to be worth millions. Notified by a contractor, Waterbury auto mechanic Jared Whipple recovered the dirt-covered pieces from a dumpster containing materials from an old barn in Watertown. Whipple later found out that the art pieces were by Francis Hines, an expressionist who died in 2016 at the age of 96 and kept his work stored in the barn. Hines was famous for creating pieces in which fabric was wrapped around an object, and he had been compared to artists such as Christo, who became famous for his wrapping installations to pop up all around Europe. The hundreds of pieces retrieved by Whipple including paintings, small sculptures, and small drawings. And heading over to Madrid, Spain's Civil Guard is investigating a businessman in the eastern Valencia region who was owned a taxidermy collection worth more than 1,000 stuffed animals, including at least 1 specimen of already extinct African orcs and over 400 species from the protected list. The collection would bring more than $31 million on the black market, while the owner could be charged with crimes against the environment and additional trafficking charges as well. The agents also recorded stuffed specimens of lion, lynx, polar bear, snow panther, and leopard. The Civil Guard has said it would also announce that they're investigating whether any documentation exists that could justify the ownership of such a collection. Well, that looks like all the time we have for today at Penn. Thank you so much for watching. From everyone here, the producer Megan Tarcea, myself Susanna Gwynn,
Mitchell Rife.
Thank you so much for watching today, and we hope you'll tune in again tomorrow.
Northern Michigan University Public Television in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.